We have a tropical
Oh,
storm.
wow. Okay, I hear that.
We have a tropical storm warning. Good morning from the Boogie with the Bull Tropical Storm Center. It's Randy Rhodes and Dave Glovin, Monday Morning Caffeine. Our thoughts, prayers, words of advice go to everybody who is dealing with Debbie passing through Florida.
Christ.
She was in the south earlier. She'll be up in the north around 2 o'clock. In full swing, we hear possibly then, but maybe 5 o'clock. If you look at different maps, it shows that it will continue to move north into South Carolina and into Georgia. And heed the warnings and be prepared. As I have put in posts the last few days, don't be a hero that ends up a zero. If you get told to leave, please pack up and leave. If you get told to leave and take your pets with you, then leave and take your pets with you. I can't tell you about pet-friendly places that you can either check them into or hopefully places you can go and be with them. But just do what you have to do to protect yourself and your family. And we will be watching, and I'm sure Jerry Michaels, if the American Rebellion is live tonight on Wimkin and Rumble, will probably have more comments. I think most of this has passed him by now, but people can go over to Wimkin and Rumble and watch the American Rebellion, maybe even see Randy on there tonight and get more information. I do want to thank Jerry. I was on Saturday night with Daryl Rector, Nikki Young, who was always on with Jerry, Jen Woodruff, and Dr. Rhodes popped in on a very heartfelt conversation. I'm not going to say exactly what it was because I want people to go watch it. But it was a conversation that actually brought some of us to tears. So that's all I'm going to say. It's very rare that I've been on a panel, on a broadcast, talking about something that actually hits home to all of us in one way or another. So go watch Saturday's The American Rebellion. And if you keep score, Jerry had to tell me to be quiet and not overtake my turn or interrupt somebody else twice. And I did apologize to Nikki the second time for doing it. And I did apologize to Jen for doing it, but Jen was making reference to the fact that I do it on our broadcasts all the time. And I had said to Jen, my broadcast, I guess I'm allowed to do it. But anyway, it's not right. Anyway, Randy, what do you got for this morning?
Yeah, like you said, Dave, I have never been on a Facebook broadcast by myself or with others where a conversation brought the entire panel at one point out into tears that had to be held back. Yeah, folks, please do yourself a favor. And it's not because I want to increase his numbers, but go watch that show till the very end because it is like my wife always said about her favorite movies. It's a tearjerker all the way to the end. So don't miss out on the commercials in between. No, there's nothing in the commercials, but please go to the show, watch it. But be prepared to have a box of tissues with you because you will need them. I guarantee
You
it.
will. You will.
Other than that, one of the interesting things that came out at the beginning of their show, Daryl Rector has a friend who was stationed in what's that country called? Guatemala. Okay, and I'm not sure the guy's in the military or he's a military liaison or what his job title is, but he thought it prudent enough to call his friend Daryl and say, "Look, Daryl, if you know of anybody, if you have any
Look it out.
friends, Okinawa, thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any friends or someone you know that live in Israel, Syria, Egypt, please tell them to pack up and get the hell out of town because they are expecting Iran to retaliate against Israel in a big way, and that there are two American aircraft carriers en route to ward off that potential attack. I know the news today is talking about it as well to a certain degree. They're not trying to raise people's fears of World War III happening today or anytime this week, but just be prepared. Watch the news and stay tuned in case you live in that area or know somebody. Tell them to get the hell out of town. But that goes down to what I've always said. Why in the hell would Americans want to live in countries where they hate us? I mean, I would be so afraid I would sneeze and use tissue and throw the tissue in the wrong basket, or use my sleeve, my arm, to wipe my nose after the fact and get arrested for some kind of a violation of their laws. But I think for Americans living in those countries, well, especially Muslim-controlled countries, you're making a big mistake. Look across the world right now, okay? And I've said this before. World War One, World War Two, Americans, Australians, English, Canadians, and other Western nations sent their finest and their best into combat to thwart off the arm of evil, to keep them on their shores, to keep them from coming into our countries, to invade our people and to take over our land. So we went to war twice in European theaters, and we fought and we eventually won after 4 or 5 years of battle, but at a loss of millions of people's lives. And look what we have today. Those enemies that we fought are now in our government. They're in our Congress. They're in our Senate. They're in local governments offices. They're in England. They're taking over where the English police officers are afraid to take a stand for what's right for the English citizens. They're in Canada. They're in Australia. They're all across Europe. They are taking back the land that used to belong to free, loving people. And you know what? Maybe we deserve it because look at what we did to them with the Crusades. Look at what the kings did when they sent their soldiers to Christianize the Muslims, to tell them to forget their Allah and that there's only one true God. And if you don't bow down and worship our God, you'll lose your life. Maybe after all those years, we're finally getting a taste of what it's like. And you know what? If we don't want to be forced to pray to Allah and to bow down and pray to Mecca, we better do something about it now before it's too late. And that's my opening statement for today.
Good, good opening statement. We've talked about the Crusades before. I've asked the question to Muslims that might be watching, as well as Christians that might be watching. It's the same playbook. It's just rinsed, washed, bleached, regurgitated, and comes out again. And the Muslims are crying that, hey, during the Christian Crusades, they came up, they stepped up to you, they said, hey, do you want to become a Christian? Do you want to join us for the Last Supper? And if you said no, you joined them for the Last Supper. And, unfortunately, payback can be a bitch. One of the good things about doing a broadcast on Facebook, I'm on a tangent for a second, is every once in a while, a broadcast gets posted in a group and they reject one broadcast, but they approve others. Donald Trump assassination investigation group did approve the two Keeping It Simple with Michael and Dave broadcasts last Thursday and Friday, probably because I'm sure at some point we touched upon the Trump assassination or said Secret Service or said something. So I want to apologize to the group because our last Wednesday, Red Friday, morning caffeine was rejected because we didn't talk about it. So what I want to do is make an invitation to anybody in that group that wants to come on to the broadcast and discuss the Trump assassination or update us on what you may know about the Trump assassination, to feel free to come and join us, as well as anybody else who is interested in joining. Michael Anthony is in the live chat, and his
Bring
comment.
Bring him in.
Greatly appreciated. Well, Michael, if you want to join, I will send you a link, or if you can, I will send you a link.
Hey, Michael, come on in.
Actually, we'll do this right now because
the water is nice.
I have to do it manually with Michael because Messenger will not allow me to send him the link. So give me just a second while I type the link in. Randy's going to say something of infinite wisdom, but you don't realize I'm looking at the screen and trying to type the link in so I can send it to him manually.
Yeah, I'm looking at the newsreels now on my dual monitor setup here, and North Korea is moving hundreds of missile launchers to their coastline. So, gee, what are they getting ready for? Because, folks, keep in mind, folks, North Korea, they launch one of their missiles, it hits Hawaii in like 45 seconds. That's how close they are and how fast those missiles fly now. So they're moving hundreds of missile launchers to their shoreline. I doubt it's for a missile test. It is because, I'm going to say it's probably because we have our aircraft carriers in motion headed towards the Middle East. And I would think too that since North Korea is supplying munitions and military personnel to Russia to fight Ukraine, I would think their missile launchers would be able to reach Ukraine as well if they were directed in the right direction. That's North Korea, they're a wild card. You gotta watch out. And with him being sick and his daughter looking to take over, we need to be careful and be very much aware of North Korea and what their actions are going to do in the next few weeks, especially as we get closer to the elections. And folks, speaking about the elections, I've said it many times. I don't think that we stand a snowball chance in hell of Trump making it to the election, to the final stage of that whole performance.
Can I interrupt for a second? Do you think that it's because someone may succeed where another failed, or do you just think that the Democrats have put their plans that they had 2016 to 2020 to put together, and they had 2020 to 2024 to put together to keep someone there? I'm no longer saying that I thought they would keep Joe Biden there for another year, but go ahead, Randy.
What I'm thinking is, the Democrats, they learned from their mistakes. And the mistake they've learned, in politics was the thing with Hillary. They put all their money on Hillary, not expecting a turnout for Trump. So they learned from that. That's why they went and did the software thing with Dominion polling stations to get that machine. So when it hit a certain amount of polls for Trump, it automatically kicked in and started falsely adding in votes for Biden. And that's how they won that election. They stole it from him. Now, they learned how to do that. Now, this kid, he did a hell of a job getting to where he was on that roof, even being detected. the police allowed him to be where he was. And for the Secret Service to say, "Oh, it's too hot to be on a roof," that's bullshit. Okay, they train for that kind of stuff. Um, so they allowed that kid the freedom to try and take out Trump. So they learned what not to do next time. So next time coming up, they will be better prepared and they will get their shot. And I hate to say it, I truly do, but I think they will be successful the second time around. And that's going to blow the Republican chance of bringing in another player as popular as Trump to go against Kamala Harris. That's just the way I think, and we'll see.
Now, what do you think about Biden stepped down or just got cut out or did whatever he was told to do? I still want to know what they said to, if Joe is really full of dementia and just following orders from everybody, then I want to know what they said to Jill Biden to get her to agree to remove Joe from running. And now Kamala is the nominee. They claim because of that video phone call, which I don't know if they have to show us proof of what actually happened on that call. So we don't even know if that call happened. But if something were to happen to President Trump, God forbid, and he is not able to run on November 5th, are you comfortable with J.D. Vance doing the same thing and saying, if he made me his vice president, he must be secure in the fact that I might have to be his president one day? How do you feel about that?
So you're saying that if Trump gets taken out, how comfortable do I feel of J.D. Vance stepping into his shoes? Is that correct? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know if he's going to do it, but I'm just looking at it going, well, if the Democrats allowed Kamala Harris to say Joe's out, that makes me your nominee. You have to think that J.D. Vance is probably going to do the same thing if something happened to President Trump.
See, J.D. Vance doesn't have the connection to the American people like Trump did. He doesn't have the last 8 years of the love that the people showed Trump. He is new to the game. If that's going to happen, then Trump has to get J.D. Vance out there out front and doing these rallies on a big scale to get the people to respond to him the way they do to Trump. I mean, my God, that guy walks. Trump walks outside and says, USA, USA, USA. We love you, Trump. We love you. And the response, it's like, I hate to say it, but you know what? It's like the people responding to a royal king or queen. They love the guy. Okay, I don't think the American people have that connection yet to J.D. Vance. Oh, they'll accept him if if Trump becomes president, and then something happens and J.D. Vance has to step in from vice president to president. But for Trump to be taken out, let's say today, God forbid, and for J.D. Vance to walk in and say, you know what, let's keep this party going, I don't think he's going to have the response that the people are hoping for to take it and win against Kamala. I mean, I've never been a big believer in polls, okay? I got a bachelor's degree in marketing, and I know how marketing works, and polls are exactly the same way. So you can't trust polls. Please, people, don't trust polls, okay? Because they can go into a village, a town, a city, a state, whatever, and they can ask a portion of the population questions. Now, those questions are designed for the response that the people want, okay? So polls are fake news all around. So when you see that Kamala Harris is 1 point away from Trump, if the election was held today, Kamala Harris is going to win. No, don't believe the polls, people. It's bad news. It really is.
Yep. Well, President Trump has said throughout the 2015 campaigning that he could buy a poll that would just claim 100% of anything he says. If he says, we're going to pass a law that says the sky is Scotch plaid with orange highlights, if you vote for me, he's going to be able to produce a poll that says, 99% of the Americans, regardless of political party, want the sky to be Scotch plaid and with orange highlights. I guess I'm going to steal into something that I didn't get to say on Saturday on the American Rebellion. I believe Roe versus Wade was the stupidest lawsuit that ever got to the Supreme Court, because Roe versus Wade was Roe suing somebody named Wade. Who Wade was, I don't know. Roe wasn't her real name anyway. But Jane Roe and her husband became pregnant because they became pregnant. Jane didn't want to tell her husband that she was pregnant because he didn't want to have children. She had decided that because abortion was illegal where they were, that she was going to wait for it to change in her state and wouldn't have an abortion until it did. Well, unfortunately, it took 3 years to get to the Supreme Court. Baby Roe had already been born. Baby Roe had already been put up for adoption. And as far as I'm concerned, once Baby Roe was born, that case was moot and should never have happened. Also, I'll end it by saying I'm a firm believer that the federal government needs to get out of certain things. And it's controlling what any portion of the population, men, women, kids, grandkids, I don't really care, do. And most of those things should fall onto the state. And yes, there will be states that will not want it legal in their state. There will be states that will be willing to have it be legal in their states. And you may have to temporarily go from one state to another while you have it done. But anyway, make sure my point, I guess, that I'm trying to say is make sure you watch everybody else on Facebook. I know people watch us. We get about 100, 150 views now when we're live. We grow to upper 500, 600, 700s very quickly. Some get up to 1,000 or more. And so, I know that people are watching. Make sure you're watching others besides me and Randy and other broadcasts that Randy does and other broadcasts that Jen may do. Make sure you go to Jen Woodruff's website, cookiecrumbs.com. No B in it, COOKIECRUM.com. We all know that Jen is the homeschooling mom, is right now schooling baby number 5. The youngest. I don't know what will happen with Jen and homeschooling after that, but she's a very respected advocate here on Facebook and around other places. So talk to Jen as far as homeschooling goes. But make sure you're watching everybody else. Get everybody else's opinions and thoughts. And then, like I tell you, when you're done watching me, turn them off and do the same thing. Or make notes while you're watching them or you're watching me. Go over your notes. Think about it. Make your decisions. Go to Randy. I do want to say that if you're looking for your genealogy service, talk to Randy. Our roads lead you home. Everybody I know that does a broadcast that was either on Facebook at one time or another, may even be on Wimkin, may be on Rumble, may be on X or no longer on X, or this one or that one, respects Randy for what he does. So, Randy, take a few minutes and tell us what's going on with that. I always say I'm not going to do it, but you know what? Take a few minutes and do it.
Take a few laps, huh? Okay. No, okay. Folks, I've said this many times over. First, let me start off with this. Uh, at one point or another, all of your favorites on Facebook broadcasts, Dave, uh, Jerry, Nikki, Daryl, um, have all Jen have all allowed me to do their family genealogy at one point or another. Some are still with me as I continue to work on theirs and find all kinds of neat stuff. Some found what they wanted, and took a pause from me. But if they think of me high enough to do their family tree, then you should take advantage of me as well. But I've said this before, and genealogy goes beyond the study of the family. It includes the love that a person has for the nation they live in and everything that it means. So what I'm saying is this: our ancestors, okay, all the majority of them came from a European nation, okay, England, France, Germany, and so forth. Um, and the folks lived there. They lived a decent life, but it was a hard life, okay. Um, and at some point, when the new world was discovered, when they discovered our continent, here was new land, here was new opportunities. So the husbands of these families, um, for so the migration from Europe to this new world took on different viewpoints, different reasons. One was religious. Okay, so the government or the kings were preventing people from wanting to worship the way they wanted to worship. For example, the Quakers and the Dunkers, okay, and the Amish and the Mennonites. So when they found out about this new world, they decided to uproot their entire community and traveled by the hundreds to the new world. With the Europeans, they wanted just a better life. They wanted to get away from a king who kept taxing his people. So the husbands of these families uprooted their families and decided to pay the captain of the ship whatever the fee was, and the 3 months it took to travel to the new world. But once you got to the new world, I often joke there were no Trump Towers, there's no Starbucks, there's no Dunkin' Donuts, there's no Wawas or supermarkets. It was trees and trees and trees and native Indians. Okay, so our ancestors, first off, had to have the gumption to uproot their family, and for the men. Now, keep in mind, guys, a husband who has a wife and children had to take the chance that his family was not going to be abused, or their ship was not going to be attacked by pirates, or in many cases, the women on board these ships were at the whim of the ship's crew members, and they went through hell. Some of them did. So they sacrificed themselves, literally, to come to this new world to start afresh. And once they got here, they had to build. And that's where I come in. Thank God that people thought enough to write down their journals, their diaries, and they wrote in their Bibles. And I have access to all that. So I can learn how these people got here and what they did, the homes they built, the farms they built, eventually the towns and the cities. And they were rich, they were poor. But, they came here for a better way of life. And here we are, 250 years later, telling our ancestors, we don't care what you did, what your sacrifices you went through, because we're throwing it away. And that's what hurts me when I see how we are treating our country, how we are allowing the beliefs of our ancestors to be trodden on. I mean, they never would have thought about killing their babies. They never would have thought about, cutting off, body parts to change the change the sex of their child. They accepted the child as it was, and they made the better for it. So I do more than just study history. I find and I dig deep and I learn about the family and what they went through. And that's something I can show to my clients, what I've done. I had a woman who just came back to me after a year. She had cancer. She was dying, but she was able to beat it. She stopped. She came back to me. This is no one you can ask my family, or I can show it to you on camera. She's her mom went out in her car and she physically went to the cemeteries. She went to the courthouses. She went to the churches. She wrote it all down with paper and pen and a manual typewriter. And on her dying bed, she said to her daughter, please put this online so that others can see my work and take advantage of it and see what I've done for them. So she came to my house 3 days ago with 14, an additional 14, because I had 14 to start with. She brought to my house new 14 binders of 4-inch binders of all her mom's work. And she's paying me once again to put it all online. And folks, that is a love of endurance for her mom, but it's going to be my love and endurance to continue her mom's work. And I'm proud that she came back to me. And that's it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I answer questions. I have no problems talking to people.
Good. I'm glad. Our Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. The group is still here. Randy has another group that starts with an S that plug that group, and he's going to start another group for people that have Confederate flags but aren't allowed to hang them in their studios. I'm going to tease him about that. I'm going to tease you about that as much as I can, only because
I'm sure you will.
People, someone asked me yesterday if I would consider having the Confederate flag as the green screen on a Boogie with the Bull broadcast, and I said, yeah, just to have fun with it. But anyway, let's.
Just so you folks know, since you brought it up, if you take notice, my Confederate flags are no longer on my walls. Now, this woman, she lives like 5 minutes from my house. And she stopped by my house now twice, and she's a northerner. And she took offense to the flags. And out of respect for her, and the fact that she's paying me to do this job, I took the flags down because I never know when she's going to show up. Like yesterday, she showed up with a brand new. You get this, Dave. She stopped by my house with a brand new 2-drawer filing cabinet, heavy ass metal, and with about $200 worth of binders and folders and all manila folders, just because that's what she wants to do.
Gotta love your customers that do that.
And she's gonna buy me a brand new printer, and she's gonna buy me binders. So she is very anxious, and I'm glad. So out of respect to her, now what I did too, I might put them hanging back up again because my garage is now a family room. Since I don't drive anymore, I don't know if you guys saw my video, but I'm redoing my the garage into a really nice 2.0 office. So I might put the flags back up here in my office and just keep her out of the room. No, we're gonna meet downstairs today. No, but and it's not the fact that I'm ashamed of the flags. I'm think about that. But I have high respect for my clients, and that's why they came down.
All right, we're going to move along just a bit, only because Dr. Michael Anthony, who joined me last week on Keeping It Simple with Dave Globin and Michael Anthony, which the first one, which was last Thursday, was 888 views, total views. When I looked at it this morning, Friday, the 2.0 was up to 1,000. Moving along, so I want to bring Michael into the conversation with Randy and I and those of you watching. Uh, so, Michael, what's new and exciting with you?
New and exciting. Can you hear me first?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to make sure because I was having a lot of difficulties trying to get in. I don't know why.
It
But
may have been
anyway,
like
okay.
saying,
Yeah, don't worry. It doesn't matter. I mean, hey, good conversation going on here. A lot of good points, Randy. You really did touch on. I feel the same way when it comes to Trump's choice. You know, people of the world recognize him overall. Things could change, of course. Is this guy prepped enough to come in? The only thing I can tell you is I know people that served with him that were actually, right with him side by side on military missions and so forth. And they say he's a good fella with a good background, brought up brought up by women, around women. He understands women very well and women's rights, and he would be fair down the board. But it comes to the point, how well groomed is he to take something over if necessary? And I think he would fall very short there. But what else do we have? We have to go forth what is now put in place. But like any good white hat, any good black hat, they're going to have another plan. The same today that made news is Fetterman saying Harris's worst pick in the world would be Shapiro. So anyway, we kind of know that vibe that I was predicting is actually being discussed somewhere for Fetterman to come out and say, hey, don't pick this guy. Why he's doing it, I don't know. I really don't care. I mean, we're going to have to face the reality of whatever they throw in our face and combat it the best we can. That will become another war, a new war. And I think we're going to see them as we go month by month into November 5th. So I just wanted to make that comment. I'm on board. I think your logic was really well put out there. So, where do we stand in that? Who's to say, who's to know? Because none of us can actually predict the future. Only the ones planning the show can, lay it out for us. And we follow it because this is all we have left. Every man, woman, and child must come forth, as I've always said, and stand up for the America dream and to try to restore it in some way and replenish the goodness of normalcy. That said, there was a lot of other things said, but what I really feel bad about is when customer service can dictate policy to a man's business. That I feel terrible about, that one would have to fall to their compromise in order to gain a livelihood from it. I really feel bad that Randy's going through that situation, no matter how well this person sincerely wants to gift him. We are not any longer and should never be a nation of compromise, but we do deal with it, and it's much greater than just out there in one way. I mean, for all we know and all possibilities that could be, and she's from the other side just trying to buy him to condemn his beliefs. And that is very sad because that's exactly what she's doing. She's suppressing his belief as to what he believes in. Now, if Randy has second opinion as to why he took them down for different reasonings, I would definitely adjust my mind thought to say, well, I understand why he did it. But to keep a customer, I would fold that customer's paperwork and send them back on their way. That's just my train of thought. It has nothing to do. Right. It has nothing to do with anything more than that. But aren't we already, as a society, doing that to each other? And when will that stop? And when will we all be free? And when will we all be able to use our voice? This is just another way of compromising a forced compliance because of people's ideology. That is just sad. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against her. I'm not against Randy. I'm neutral. It's an opinion. I hope you respect it as an opinion because I do know it comes to what comes to your home that helps you with your existence in this life. And we all have to survive. And these are the tactics that they go for. It just makes me wonder how honorable this party may actually be.
Well,
This is
she was. Well,
Go
she
ahead,
came
Randy.
to. She was a client of mine for well over a year. A year ago, and she came down sick, and I lost track of her for almost a year. And she finally reached out to me again. She said that she had cancer of the abdominal area. She was able to beat it, and that she wanted to reestablish, my connection to continue her mom's work. So she just happened to live 5 minutes from my house, and the next thing you know, she shows up, at my doorstep with 14 4-inch binders of her mom's work that she did by hand, and here she has my monthly payment in her hands. So I accepted it, obviously. But it took to the second time of her coming to my house a week later when she made comment about my flags and how her ancestors fought for the North and how she felt what was the word she used uneasy seeing these flags. Um, Now, what I did do was my garage was already in the process of being turned into like a family room, which is a really nice. I don't know if you guys saw the video. Check it out. It's on Facebook. But from now on, what I'll do is I'll have her come into my 2.0 office and meet there. I got reclining chairs. I got TV, my computer set up down there, and so forth. So I'll hang the flags back up here now, and I'll just have that and have a compromise, a northern safe space and a southern safe space. But one thing I never want to do, I never want.
Where you have to operate in secrecy.
I'm sorry.
Where you operate in secrecy.
I'm not understanding the question.
It's not a question; it's a statement. Where you have to operate in secrecy. And isn't that in some way by doing that just as wrong as her asking you to remove them? I'm not getting on you, Randy. I'm just making conversation. Maybe it was the
No,
wrong thing to bring up, but I missed a lot of the other focal points because I had a really hard time entering, and I chose to leave the camera off because of the connection. It kept giving me echo, echo, and as soon as I killed the camera, I was able to get clarity from your voices. So I was just trying to make adjustments. I may have missed some things, but what
uh,
you just said, you did already say also previously to me coming in, joining the conversation about you, dividing your offices like into two areas and so forth. So I did pick up on that. I did hear it. I just feel bad for people. That's why I'm bringing this up on uh, representing myself for you, supporting you, that you would be put in a position like that just over a paycheck. It saddens me, and I know who this lady is. We've discussed her before. I remember when you were doing work for her, and you showed concern, deep concern. I wish you would have had the appreciation to show it back to you by never making or mentioning what those flags meant. Because, and under the Constitution, everybody has the right to believe. That's why this country's in turmoil because a lot of people are saying, well, hey, if you're not Christian, you ain't that. If you're not
yeah.
black, you ain't that. We're watching Harris even say it now, trying to mimic a culture by utilizing a native tongue to gain popularity. It saddens me that we have to go into these types of measures and ideologies and then have to
Well,
hide behind them
We're
because
not,
we
we're not
believe.
doing anything to harp on you, Randy.
oh no, no, no.
I
But
love you like the older brother that you are. I just
older
wish that,
brother. Wow. No,
well,
but I mean,
interpret that however you want. But
but this.
I just get very upset when I see fellow broadcasters, regardless of what network that they're on, suffering with. Don't get offended when I say something to your
Oh no.
customers, but stupid people thinking they have a right to tell you what to do with your business. Because in my 40
Right.
years, when Michael doesn't like me to talk about what I did, but in my 40 years of what I did, I said to people a lot, if you don't like how I do it, crack open the phone book and start calling from A, but call the second one because we're the first one listed in the phone book. And it's the same kind of thing. You do a great service. You do a great service that lots of people love and appreciate. And in the years that I've seen you do it, at least on Facebook, nobody, well, there were some people that were upset about the Confederate flag, and they left. They groups, and they left. Big deal. But what I think Michael is saying is, you're an American. You got a right to do what you do, and do it to the way that you're happy. But I'll let you guys continue on with the
all my clients up into her have all been Southern, and it's not that I marketed myself as a Confederate genealogist. Okay, just that it seems the people from the South are more concerned about their family history than those from the North. They want to know if they have a Confederate soldier because they want to join the SCV. They have to join the SCV. So my 50 clients I've had since I've been doing this have all been from the South, and they have a strong connection to their family history. And that's why I enjoyed it. I had one guy who he holds the rank of general, and he reached out to me. He said, "Randy, I've heard so much good stuff about you. I want to bring you in as my genealogist for the Northeast Command. It includes 8 states, and I want you to be the genealogist for the North and South Carolina. And I'm going to give you the rank of colonel." And I was proud. I was amazed, right? And I was proud. But it showed that my quality of my work is out there. But then someone lodged a complaint against my character to the SCV because I wanted to join that outfit as well. Okay, and they turned me down, and I asked why, and they said that another person lodged a complaint about your character, which places a black mark on your name, and you will not be allowed to join any Southern group. And I said,
so that was like the vote. That was the vote of the people because of one voice of opinion. That is not how our Constitution of vote works. That's theory of opinion, which means that's terrible. Wow. That's just
I asked for this person's name. He said, "No, we can't give you the person's name." I said, "So what's the complaint?" "We can't give you that." I said, "Wait, so someone placed a complaint against my character that prevents me from joining, but you won't tell me what the complaint is or who made the complaint?" And he said, "That's right. You have to be, get this, you have to be a member of the SCV to challenge the black mark." And I said, "Well, how can I challenge the black mark if I'm not an SCV member?" And I said, "That's just way it is." So I did get it down to which person did it. One of my clients, Timothy Mouse, he was a client of mine for a very long time, a Southerner, obviously. His commander is the one that placed the mark against me, okay? And he won't reach out to me to talk about what it is I did to upset him. I have no idea what I did, you know?
You do a lot of shows. You talk, Randy, you get judged for doing a lot of shows, talking about a lot of different things. And when you strike that chord where it affects somebody's opinion, a thought, then they put you into that placement. Is that what the North and South has always been about? No. Are we now not past the North and the South? And didn't we not unify as a country as always one? It doesn't mean you forget heritage. It doesn't mean that we forget, history. But again, people are forgetting fruitfulness.
The people in the South, they're constantly under attack with the destruction of their statues, their monuments, their paintings, their portraits, their books, their literature, because those on the left are trying to erase the history of the South, and that's what keeps them going. I would think that if the left stop attacking, change the names of military bases, change the names of aircraft carriers, just leave them alone, they'll go away quietly. but they are damned and determined to continue this fight, and they are on the verge, and I know this for a fact, they're on the verge of doing it two ways. They have different groups, one which does it politically, so they're trying to get the vote out to vote out those who are against the South and vote in those who are for the South, because they are under the belief that they can still successfully secede the states if they just get the right people in office. The other side of it is they have a military arm. They are a militia. They are armed. They have bunkers. They have weapons. They have everything they need to start a war, and they're just waiting for that light, that match to light.
Can I ask one question? Is secession really the answer? Is going back, rinse, wash, wax, regurgitate, and having a civil war the answer? Or is the answer finding out what we have to do to unite Americans to be Americans and understand that Southern Americans are going to be pro-Americans a little bit differently than the Northern, that the North are, or the Northern, or we're all going to be different, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans. Rather than breaking us into 2 countries, 3 countries, 4 countries, 5 countries, because California will decide to become its own country, and Texas might become its own country, and Michael Anthony probably owns enough stock to make Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, its own country. Is that the answer, or is us working all together and understanding that we all have differences? And like other broadcasters say, I don't care what you do at the end of the day behind the walls of your home, as long as it doesn't affect children and it doesn't affect me. I guess that's where I am, and either one of you can address that answer. I'll turn my mic off again and become the moderator. I'm sniffling with sleep, which is why I keep turning my mic off anyway. But go ahead.
If anyone from the South is watching the show, I'll probably get banned from my groups after I get off the show here. But I've been dealing with the people from South for years now. Okay, and I've been inside the workings of what they do, what their belief is. Okay, and obviously they're singed by the fact that they lost the war. Okay. Because the Southern people are very proudful of their heritage. That's why, just think of the pride they had in their country, in their states, like Virginia. Just look at the movie Gettysburg. How they crossed, 2 miles of open land to cannon fire and eventually to get slaughtered down by rifles. That is a very proudful person that does that. And they hate the fact that they lost the war, because they were so determined to separate from the northern states and live a life the way they want. Okay. And in a way, I can't blame them, because look at the country we have now. We have about 7% of our population who lives a different lifestyle, but that 7% is telling the rest of our country how to live. We have to allow men in women's bathrooms. We have to allow men in women's sports. And that's what they were trying to fight against. They want, they're very Christian, they're God country, and the God, country, and family. That's how they believe, and they were trying to keep their states that way, because they didn't want to be influenced by the way the North was. And with the fact that the left is still destroying, my God, they dug up General Lee's horse. That's how bad the hatred is for the South. They dug up his horse. They dug up their dead and made them be reburied somewhere else because someone walked by and, oh my God, there's a Confederate cemetery here. I'm so offended. And that one person made that whole cemetery get relocated because there's Confederates buried in the ground there. You don't see that with the North. You don't see someone, the South walking up and being offended by a Northern cemetery or a Northern statue. You don't see that. Where else do you see, people's, statues and monuments and buildings being defecated on because they hate the South? So,
I don't know. Here's this. Here, Brand, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't understand how you have concluded that the rest of the world hates the South or the North. Just what if the West? Maybe the West does. Well, I mean, when the British were coming, and we called out to the French. When the French came, kicked ass, helped us kick ass. The North and the South were like, "Oh my God, thank you so very much for being here." And what happened by that happening? It was the French Illuminati running it, who brought in then, the Statue of Liberty. And what does that really tell you? What does that really represent? That represents that they made this country part of their country. And yet they were bowing to them saying, thank you for helping. I mean, Project Setup. I mean, if you really think about how big and what some of these things were all about and how the ideology all started somewhere in a log cabin between the North and the South, between, these colonial troops and so forth. I mean, that's what's defecating. If you want to talk about shitting on something, that's the big shit on, to be honest with you. But everybody's been attacked somewhere. We all have something that we are unopposed to and don't have any respect for another one's actions for doing it. Rightly so. We have that right. We have the freedom of thought to be able to do that. But yes, were certain places of certain issues always pissed on? Of course they were. But that doesn't mean that the entirety of the narrative changes. And who's to say that we don't have militias set up in the same way in support of the South, just not out there voicing it and creating narrative on a piece of paper that says you are now a colonel and something that there is no physical accountability towards, except somebody saying it exists. Where does it exist? How does it exist? What makes that exist? I apologize, but I mean, I just wanted to voice that to some degree because it's part of a scenario of culture and history of a shit show on how betterment comes for not the people involved, but the parties addressing it to happen.
You still there?
I'm here.
Oh, it's just the way you went so quiet. It's like you lost connection.
No, I thought I did a good rail there.
You did a good rail, but let me jump in for just a second. From StreamYard, we've lost the Facebook live chat coming up onto my screen at 10:15. I don't care anymore.
That's because I'm here. It's because I'm here.
We're watching it. We're watching it on Facebook, so I will at least be able to read it if anyone does put a comment in. I guess because the grace of God, an Android tablet that was on the verge of dying apparently appears to have come back to life today.
Yeah, that's curious. 10:15. Can you tell what time Michael jumped onto the show?
Probably about 10:13. Yeah, the last comment I have from Michael was about 10:13. So it could have been Michael, but when I went to set up this morning, Facebook had previously severed the link with StreamYard. So
well, look, we're all targeted individuals, and we have to accept the new norm. We have to accept this new normality of the allowance and compromise of the disallowance, and we're going to have to just get used to it. I would say it's coming to the point where we just need to remove the commentary, apologize, and just do the best you can, because what's important on any narrative of topic subject matter is the fact that we get it out and one ear hears it. If we have only one ear that hears it, something somehow may make change that unifies America stronger together. Because when we talk about genealogy and the historics of America, wipe that off the picture. That's no longer what this is about. This is a fight for humanity. This is a fight to save the children. Every woman and child to step up. Every woman and child to step up, to stand strong, and us to face every day for a new tomorrow and hope for that new tomorrow to come. Because you know what? We were out of tomorrows and we're running short of them. And we need to show our presence more, no matter how it goes, what it'll take, that we are victorious in the end somehow, that we can make a change. This is our last hurrah, guys. This is our very last hurrah. Yeah. If they get through a steal, if they get through because we just don't get enough votes, because they convinced enough people, bought enough votes, brought enough people into America, and go on and go on and go on, then guess what? They pulled the wool over our eyes and they kicked our asses. But the only thing we can do is stand up strong the best we can. Commentaries, you can only apologize to people that they are destroying your platform. And that is part of what I think we're going to be actually dealing with month by month. Not many left, but month by month going into the election will be to take us down and to suppress us even more. And it's going to be difficult, Dave, because I know you live for this every day. And I would like to use my voice every day freely. But they are winning against us because they are in control of us.
They're winning, but I want to acknowledge that Gerard K. Michaels, who everyone knows as Jerry Michaels, is watching us this morning. Jerry is the host of the American Rebellion. The American Rebellion moved or may have limited exposure on Facebook, but it's on Wimkin, WIMKIN.com, and Rumble, RUMBLE.com. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday evening at 7 p.m., as I said, Eastern. As I said earlier in the beginning, if you get a chance, go watch Saturday's broadcast. One of the best I ever had the opportunity to take part in. Good morning, Jerry. I don't know what's happening with the chat, because when I call or contact StreamYard, and it's impossible to contact our live person at StreamYard now because they've gone to all bot tech support. Facebook doesn't even understand what tech support is anymore. You can't get an answer from them. So it just means that, like I said, I have a tablet which is reading the Facebook live chat, and I will make sure it gets read into the broadcast if I can't see it on the screen. And of course, as everybody else says, if I have to leave StreamYard and go someplace else that treats it better, or pull it off of Facebook because it's just Facebook games, we will probably end up doing it. Michael, that's the answer to your question. Unfortunately, as I keep saying, when you and I chat, it may be not making Facebook the emphasis only because that's where the views are. It's expanding and being everywhere else at the same time, and just being live on Facebook, and those that can't live chat on Facebook will have to go someplace else. But anyway, it's one of those things that I hate harping about every day, because everyone knows I do live for this. I did radio a long time ago. I got dementia. I'm living my life 42 years ago when I was in radio, and but I live for this. I live for making sure people get a chance to see everybody and hear everybody, and we're not going anywhere. We're just going to do it. Randy, I just want to let you know it's 11:04. I hope you'll stay with us till 11:30, and Michael will go.
Yeah, Michael,
whatever you want to do, but we'll probably end at noon, the latest.
Michael, a few months back, you had mentioned that they were building a 15-minute city near you. How's that going?
It's in process. $50 million was just allocated to that area, but they're also starting to narrate other functions of eminent domain through urban redevelopment to also create what they're calling now 500 homes in 500 days. You're going to see this throughout many cities of the United States where the support for the Democrats exists. And the selection by election has become a reality for us to be forced and indoctrinated into this new system. We're also going to be dealing with rent freezes. And, we're going to be dictated as to what can be charged for affordable housing. No more the freedom to do and be all the best you can. Not to say that there are not people out there who deserve better and more, but there has to be a different type of process to get people across that finish line. Not for us just to be bitch slapped every time we turn around by an ideology of thought of compromise. We don't have to compromise everything if we're going to live the American dream the way it was promised to us. But the problem is, there was never an American dream that was promised to us. It was to utilize us to build America, to make people rich, to keep the elites above us, and for us to remain in slavery. Another good rail for you right there.
Good rails. Good rails. Good rails. Matter of fact, I hope we can do it cheaper than Amtrak does it, too. A little bit of humor in there. Hey, everybody, it is Boogie Woodable Monday Morning Caffeine. We got a live chat going. 128 people are watching. Michael Anthony is with us. Randy Rhodes is with us. And I will apologize again. I didn't mean to hit Randy with anything, an intervention or anything. But everybody else, I hope you feel that feels the same. I hope you're hearing the same thing too. I've been saying for 15 and a half years, don't let Facebook be the beginning and end of your social media experience. Now, I got to admit, this is what I've been doing. So we'll be working with everybody and getting out everywhere and making sure everybody else can get out everywhere and getting everybody. I appreciate it when Michael Anthony can join us. Appreciate it when anyone else can join us. There's always an opportunity if you're in the live chat and you think you belong on a broadcast. Tell me to link you, and I will. We'll hold it right now to the three that we have. The three that we have right now, unless maybe Jerry decides he wants to join us. But we'll hold it to no more than Jerry coming on this morning as we share coffee and life and how we're going to do this and whether or not.
We know how to do it, brother. We know how to do it. We the people are the cure.
We know how to do it, and we've been doing it. And it's just in my head, we know how to do it. We've been doing it. I'm just starting to feel the anger toward Meta Platforms Incorporated and Facebook because of my head and what goes on in my head 24 hours a day. It's just not enjoyable playing this game with Facebook anymore. And it's come down to Jerry, every time he politely mentions the Dave Bloven show on Wimkin and Rumble, he says, why aren't you on Wimkin and Rumble? And maybe it's time to go to Wimkin and Rumble and be on Facebook and not have a Facebook live chat and maybe show people that, Facebook treats us like dirt. And if you want to be part of the broadcast, you have to go to where the dirt is fertile and is going to grow. And on that, that's the end of my rail. And I turn it back to Randy and Michael.
And I will let Randy dictate wherever he wants us to go.
All right. Mr. Rhodes, unmute your microphone and take us in another direction for the next 51
Sorry
minutes.
Sorry about that. I have a loose cord in my microphone. Anyways, these houses that are being built, are they being built solely for the purpose of housing illegals, or are they low-income houses just for American citizens, or a combination thereof? The reason why I'm asking is I'm just trying to...
It equals all of the above. Look, we wouldn't have a housing crisis if we did. We would not have a housing crisis if we didn't bring 11 million people into the country. Yeah. And if you go into the early taliations of it, it started, in the college student exchange programs who stayed here, never left, and a lot of them were actually the infiltrating spies that you now see sitting in Washington who are on governmental programs. But these governmental programs are even bigger than that. I mean, people don't understand the total enormity of what was going on, like Project Montauk and things like that, and Mockingbird. While something was going on of hearing choices, including some of the most popular political names in the country, were actually being educated, schooled, and taught on how to dictate policy. The same that was going on with children being indoctrinated, then jumped into the colleges and indoctrinated other people's thoughts. That's why you see that one picture of the girl screaming her lungs out in the middle of Times Square or wherever the hell she was. And when someone's saying, I believe in God, and she would stand there and just scream. This is the narrative of how the educational system had changed people, manipulated people. That's why they were able to remove, in many cases, religion from the school and the education system, and them wanting to do it from your lives. It's all part of the same system. But Obama was in it. Others were in it. They were in it. They were groomed. They were groomed just like children. There's no difference to it. They were groomed to serve a purpose. And we're dealing with the purpose of the early ideology of Project Lockstep and the Rockefeller and the Rothschild foundations, when they were talking about this over 100 years ago, writing letters and having, their points of documentation to be sent out to the educational system. That's why these families invented the educational system, because they knew they had to guide us to a system of something that would come to the future as where we are now, that they could take total control. And say thank you. It says, listen, wait, one more thing, one more point that isolates that in a good way. When you buy a home, if you're lucky enough to, and I know not all can, but if you buy a home and you pay the mortgage for 15 years, this is important. Do you ever own that home? No, you don't. You want to know why? You do own the structure, but you never own the land. You're under a land lease because you agreed to pay land tax, which means they tie you in even more. So what do you really have? Nothing. You're sitting on their land. No matter how beautiful you build it and you claim it to be your house and it's paid off and it's all yours, really, how's that working for you?
It's not, because Vanguard BlackRock, as you and I talked about on Thursday and Friday, is now becoming the largest owner of single-family homes that I guess they don't plan on selling, they plan on renting. And being the largest landlord, they'll decide who gets to rent and who doesn't get to rent. And we're just messed up. And I mean, I don't know if bringing Donald Trump back to the White House and having a Republican House and Senate is going to be enough to do it. There's some Americans that are watching, regardless of what political party they are or whether they vote or not, that need to hear and understand what is going on and stop it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or you don't vote, but if you're a homeowner who owned a home for 30 years and took out 150 more years of second, third, fourth, fifth mortgages to put your kids through college, and you default now and you can't pay it back because your kids who are doctors just stopped paying their student loans, you're going to lose your home. And I know, Michael, you hint about this all the time. We all wanted to buy homes in our 20s, 30s, 20s at least, as we got married and started families and wanted to be able to one day say, hey, we're checking out. This is now yours. Continue it and always have a home. So, I mean,
there are. I get it, but there are larger names than Vanguard BlackRock. There are entities of corporation who are, in fact, above them that do exist. I'm not going to.
Right.
I don't want to get you thrown off. Right, but what they need is a symbol. They utilize a symbol the same as they utilize a person. And when they're done with you, they write you off, they get rid of you. And they will take from them the same as they choose to take from us. I mean, it's just that system that we're always going to live in. And can Trump change it? I mean, he could be a cushion. He can make the easement because there's going to be no cure to get to the end on everything. That's the biggest worry. Even if he used to come back and all the executive orders start to fly, unless, in my opinion, he starts to full control the military and go after every one of these disease freaks on this planet that need arrested and charged for murders and crimes on humanity, we're never going to have anything back. If he addresses this properly with other world leaders who agree with him and they build a military foundation that's larger than what we have, and we take a mission on like that, we have a substantial chance to win it all. We really do. But how will he play that? Or will he just be a cushion into the future because he can't change what has already become because of the legacy that they put in place on all the power that they have through AI technologies and the new future of the world and weather control and food manipulations and you know, hey, look, when you go out and buy a bottle of water now, read that label really careful because a lot of them's coming just from municipalities now selling bottled water, not from natural springs. They're taking mineral rights. Why? Because it helps them with eminent domain, and it helps them with land grabs. All these scenarios, the fires, it's no longer safe to live there. We're going to have more. So what do? They land grab it and say it's unsafe due to weather conditions. Don't paint your house roof blue.
I don't know. It's just getting.
Hey,
go ahead, Randy.
Speaking of blue roofs, whatever came out of the whole thing with Hawaii, with all those fires and those towns being burned up, whatever came out of that, does this kind of
nothing.
Go into
nothing? The people are suffering. They still have nothing. There's no rebuilding. What's the purpose of the land in total? Nobody actually knows that. Nobody actually has ever made comment or will, not even your Marjorie Taylor Greens, because it's so far suppressed, hidden, we don't know what that future lies. But I can guarantee you these people are now in poverty in many ways.
And we think the reason behind it was that the government wants the land. Is that the ongoing conversation?
Well, it has to do with a lot of underground bunker building and military installation for future purposes. Why? I don't know. And then we can speculate and go into a different ideology and narrative and subject matter totally as who are they doing this for? And what do they know? And why is this so important that all the elites build these things and leave us on the top surface? Is it really about the weather? Who knows? I could go into this really, really deep with other things and thoughts of ideas, but we do know that there's something bigger. And I would say this, you can't get to where we are with everything that's been laid out with something more superior than the human mind controlling it.
Randy?
The blue roofs, is that it seemed like all the properties that had a blue roof weren't touched. Any thought on that?
Yeah, I agree. It was like the energy direction weapon could identify it and stimulate around it. The power of its force, and it does exist. The rod of God, Star Wars, President Reagan. And think about how many presidents we don't talk about that were shot and killed. How many of them were there? You're a genealogist. How many were there? And how many actually took a shot and survived? Well, you could probably go into the nearest part of the future and say, well, I know that happened with, President Reagan. I know that happened with Trump. But how many people out there in the world really know how many people and whose son sat through 3 presidents' deaths? Whose child sat through 3 presidents' deaths and witnessed them dying over that shot? So the shots heard around the world were all important also. These are functions of fear mongering. And when Trump said fight, 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 number 3, pound, pound, pound with his hand, number 3, 33. He gave you it right there.
Have you guys heard about the conversation about Kennedy and the bear?
Kennedy and the
bear.
Bear meaning bear as in
bear as an
crypto?
animal. As an animal. Apparently, 10 years ago, He was driving home from some event or some meal or something, and a van in front of him hit and killed a baby bear. But the van kept on going. So I guess he's a southerner. So he stops, picks up the bear, throws him back of his vehicle with the idea of skinning it and eating meat and so forth. And then as he tells us the narrative, he goes on and he forgets himself and he goes on to some other parties and events and so forth until he forgets about the bear until the next day. And now the meat's no good. So he took the bear to this one area that he thought was desolate, uh, threw the bear on the ground, and then put a bike on top of the bear. At some point, then someone discovered the bear, called in the local authorities. They took the bike, ran fingerprints, and found it was him. So, do you think they're going to try and? I would have to think that 10 years later, that any kind of criminal offense is gone. But the fact that they're bringing this out now, do you think they're going to try and keep that from keeping it from running?
Oh, I would think they'll come up with anything they can if they think they can form grassroots from it. That's where grassroots come in, how you can utilize it. But what about the Kennedy that lost a mistress in the lake? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean, come on, they could utilize a narrative against your brother and hold you guilty for it. I mean, we know that that's not possibly true when we look at the facts of law. But again, they judge the type of family you come from. And if they can demise you, they will. I mean, look when they removed JFK Jr., into secret pro.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, we lost Michael. We lost Michael. I was going to ask him about that because I keep seeing pictures all over the internet that claim to be JFK Jr. So, no one's gonna ever give us the honest answer. And then I see YouTube videos and pictures all over Facebook of people that they claim are Elvis Presley, and
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
He
sometimes,
lives. He sings in the
sometimes
choir.
sometimes I come out of it going, if I was dead, had passed away, had moved on, and it was acknowledged and proven that I did in fact die and pass on, let me live in peace. Don't bother my family.
Yeah,
My father was a simple man. He made it clear that as he was passing, he really didn't want us all standing vigil over him in his room at hospice. He wanted to just be alone and leave. And I'm guessing probably because he would have looked up and he would have saw the stairway to heaven and Nana and Papa and Aunt Janice and Uncle Larry. No, Uncle Larry wasn't there yet. Well, now Uncle Larry died after, but he would have looked up and saw all of them waving him home, and he probably would have gone on to his just rewards. He didn't want a big to do at his funeral, although he was cremated and his ashes are now in a safe place. But he, that's,
people.
We make too much BS about this, which I really think is only good for Monday and Wednesday morning when you and I talk about it, or 7 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Thursday if we talk about it. But just
When my father had a near-death experience, and then he died a few months later. But we all went to the house, and there the minister was, and giving him his last rites. He was a Lutheran, but the Lutheran church was very close to being a Catholic church in all the rituals they did. So the minister was there doing the last rites things, and I have to admit, there's that time frame where I was questioning God and heaven and so forth, right?
Yep.
But that day set me straight. my dad was laying in bed. His eyes were closed, and he took his arm and he pointed it to the corner of the ceiling, and he started talking to his mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy smokes! He was having this conversation, right? I couldn't hear my grandmother, but he was having this conversation, and thankfully he came out of that. But he died, a while later. But then when my mom was in her dying, time, my nephew was living at the house, taking care of her, and he calls me up on the phone, frantic, saying that get over here right away. I hear your dad's voice. He's calling out to your mom. Get over here. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and I'm scared shitless. So my wife and I got in the car. We rushed over to the house, and now we didn't see anything. By the time everything that he was experiencing was gone, so who knows, if it was real or not. But I could see the fear in his eyes that, and he said words that only he would know if he actually heard how my dad spoke to my mom by the names he used for her and so forth. And he experienced my dad calling out to my mom saying, Maybelle, come home, be with me, and so forth. Yep. He had called his sister, and she got there before I did, and she was experiencing the same thing that he was. So it was a joint experience. So, folks, if you ever have any thoughts about heaven and hell, and my brother's experience with hell, so I've seen both ends of it. It's real. Okay, it is real, and I made comments today on William Rayfield's show that kind of ended up in an argument and so forth. But I believe in that. I believe in the heaven and hell. But the problem I have is, why is God taking so long to send his son with his millions of warrior angels to begin the Armageddon, to begin, the rapture and so forth, when there is so much going on in our world right now that God, either he's an extremely, patient God, or Jen mentions that one last person hasn't accepted Christ as that person's savior. But what's it going to take for God, if there is a God, to intervene and bring an end to everything?
Well, I think God can intervene at any time and end it just because he's God and he can do it. The biggest problem that I have is when people, and I don't care what faith you are, start telling me that the only way you're going to get past the top of the stairway to heaven is having accepted Christ Jesus as your Savior. My father was an Orthodox Jew, born an Orthodox Jew, and pretty much lived his life like an Orthodox Jew. My mother is an Orthodox Jew, an Orthodox Jew, but enjoyed her bacon, and is probably never going to accept Christ Jesus as her Savior because she won't be allowed bacon in heaven. I don't know, but the point is, I just believe that, God promised me a long time ago, as I was leaving heaven to become Dave Glovin, he said, you will be back. And when you're done and you're back, we will sit down and we will talk and we will decide if you accomplished the mission that I sent you for. And then I will decide what happens with you. Not my son, not his daughter, not whoever. I will decide. And I will decide with you. And that's just the way it is. So if there is a heaven, I hope that's where I'm going. If there is hell, we've all done enough things in our lives that regardless of how bad you repent or how much you atone every year, you're either going to go to one place or another. We live in a world that is dominated by people who think that if you don't follow this person and accept that person, you're not going to get in. And I want to be able to prove them wrong when I die, because I believe that God said to me, this is what's happening, and just enjoy your time here, and when you come back, we will sit down and we will talk. I don't believe God takes you before he has a reason for having you back up there.
I'm going to end it with this, and I got to jump.
Okay.
We've got company in the house.
Okay.
I do. Okay, I experienced my dad talking to his mom, so I believe that there's a heaven. God. I truly believe she was a godly woman. I believe that there's something going on because my nephews experienced at my mom's house, and then to end it, my brother's experience. My brother had a four-way heart bypass, and he was they put him under, and every time they tried to bring him out, he died. He flatlined. Okay, and that happened several times. So they kept him in a coma for I think like 3 months, and they finally were able to bring him out. And the first thing he said was he experiences what he felt was him being pulled downward, going down, falling in this tunnel, and from all angles these arms and hands are coming out to grab him, and these ugly faces. And I said, Mike, you experienced hell.
Yeah.
And you need to get your life straightened out because you experienced hell. And he did eventually. He got his life straightened out, but it took a while. But so I've experienced both. So I do believe there's a heaven, there's a hell. I just don't understand what in the heck's taking God so long to respond to all the bull crap that's happening in our world and all the viciousness of the people and what they're doing to each other. What's it going to take for them to say, you know what, enough's enough. This experiment is over. I'm going to take my my Microsoft tools and I take my X tools, and I'm just going to turn the lights off and go to another universe or something, But I do believe, what's going to take? What's it going to take? I don't know.
I just think he, as I joke around a lot, comes into his office every day, opens up his laptop. I wish I knew what kind of laptop he has, and grabs his cup of coffee and just holds his hand over his Staples Easy button and looks for a reason to slap it. And as fast as it ends, so I always say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and as it was in the beginning, it'll be in the end.
Yeah.
And how long it takes before the next phoenix rises from the ashes, I don't know. I wish, because there seems to be, if you trace it, I don't know if you can trace it through genealogy, maybe you can, but evidently God had parents. And God's father was God before God, if you follow that.
Yeah.
And like God's father retired and went on. And when God decides he's going to retire, his son's going to become God. Well, if you follow But if you follow old world Jewish businesses, that's how it happened.
Yeah. I gotta get going. I got people here.
Son was born, and but anyway, my
I
wife
gotta
is
go.
telling me you got people there. You gotta
Yeah.
go. It's a direction you don't want to go in. So
No, no,
that's
no, no, no. This table of conversation.
okay.
Let me do some research. See if I can figure something out on. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yes, that's an interesting topic.
Okay.
I would love to challenge that. Okay,
Okay.
see ya.
All right. You want to do it, or you want me to do it? Oh, Randy did it. Randy Rhodes, All Roads Lead to Home Genealogy. And I hope that question at the end there didn't freak you out. And if it did freak you out, well, then you'll probably never come back and watch a Booty with the Bull broadcast, or you'll tune out of that broadcast if we ever do throw it at you. Your ideas are always considered. If you want, you're welcome to message me with an idea, who you are, what you are, which broadcast you want to do it on, Monday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, some rare ones some rare ones Wednesday, some rare ones Saturday. A lot of times, you never know. But when you're not watching me, watch others. Watch William Rayfield and watch Michael and watch Jerry Michaels on the American Rebellion tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, over on Wimkin and Rumble. And like I said, listen to what people say. Make notes if you need to, and then at the end, decide for yourself, because that's what you have to do. Anyway, you've been watching Boogie with the Bull, Monday Morning Caffeine, a copyrighted presentation of the No Budget Broadcasting Company. We didn't violate anybody's copyrights this morning, so there's no reason to discuss that. I want to thank everybody in the live chat. Jerry Michaels, who did have to leave and come back, he's off chasing a generator to be sure that he will be able to do the American Rebellion, and I think also replacing his phone at the same time because he's having problems with his phones. But go over there and watch on Wimkin and Rumble, 7 p.m. Eastern, if he's up. If he's not up, then watch previous American Rebellions, like go back and watch the American Rebellion on Saturday and see what his life is all about. I want to thank 190 people watching the broadcast today, 41 shares over here on Facebook. I don't know how many shares from YouTube there were, if there were any, because I can't track them over here. Anyway, Rumble is still a possibility, but lately people who are on Rumble tell me it's turning into the same thing, kind of similar to what is happening here on Facebook. And I figure you have to pay Rumble $10 a month. And if you have to pay Rumble $10 a month for what you get free here on Facebook, it's not worth it. Wimkin is easy. We can be there. We can be live when we're on Wimkin. I have to change how we set up the broadcast so that I can make sure Wimkin is set up with a live chat every time we do it. And it's just practice of doing that and setting up a little differently, a little early. So Jerry Michaels, thank you for watching. Travis Rail, my buddy, thank you for watching. I know David Novar was watching before we lost the live chat. I know Mama D, Denise was the first one to be watching. And I want to thank Michael Anthony for coming in and being part of the broadcast, Randy Rhodes for being part of the broadcast. As I said, because of the storms and whatever you want to call it, Debbie coming through Florida with a punch at different times and hopefully not, but possibly knocking out electricity and internet. Our broadcast may be limited in this week, so you just have to tune in and watch and see if we will be here tomorrow night at 7 p.m., if we'll be here Wednesday at 10 a.m., if we'll be here Thursday at 7 p.m., be here Friday at 10 a.m. for Red Friday. I don't know if Bill Muckler is back yet. He did tell me that he was going to be gone most of July and come back in August. So I will try to get a hold of him this week and see if we have him back for Red Friday morning caffeine Fridays at 10 a.m. And I hope we do. Otherwise, he did give us permission to go through the books, 6 Soft Targets, the novel, and the 2020 books. I'm going to save going through the 2020 books until Bill is back, because I want Bill to be here and be a part of leading us on the discussions on the 2020 books. But anyway, go to the Bill Muckler page if you're interested in the books, 6 Soft Targets. The novel, he is asking a $20 donation. It covers the cost of the book and the shipping to you. The 2020 set, 2020 A Clear Vision for America, 2020 A Clear Vision for Our Future. Both are hardbound books. A $25 donation is asked. Again, that covers the printing and the shipping it to you. And all I can say is read the novel, 6 Soft Targets. If you enjoy reading and enjoy reading a good novel, it's Bill's version of what he thinks happened in putting together 9/11, and just a very interesting book. And if you can sit and read a book, it's 300 pages. If you can sit and read a book, you might actually be able to read it in one sitting. Short chapters, 5-6 pages. So consider doing that. And again, I'll reach out to Bill and try to make sure we can get him back on Friday mornings as quickly as possible. Don't forget Jerry Michaels, 7 p.m. to about 8:30 p.m., sometimes 9 p.m. over on Wimkin and Rumble, and be a part of that conversation. Make sure you watch William Rayfield. I'm trying to think of who else there is to watch. If I didn't tell anybody watching that they should watch any particular broadcaster that is watching, make sure I am reminded of you, or come on a Boogie with the Bull broadcast and remind everybody of yourself, and we'll go from there. My wife tells me a lot that it takes longer to close out a broadcast than it does to actually do the broadcast. So we're going to close it. Apologize for taking the phone call before, but an appointment that I had later got canceled because of the weather, and that is a good thing. If you are in Florida, be safe. The last thing I'm going to say is be safe. Make sure you're prepared with everything that you may need to be stuck in your home for up to 10 days, the Lieutenant Governor said. If at all possible, if there is a place that you can park your car outside of your neighborhood, should you need to leave your neighborhood, consider that. Or I don't know, just figure it out. The governor, or one of them, Governor DeSantis or the Lieutenant Governor, did say a few times, if you have pets, take them with you when you leave. You will find out the closest pet-friendly location that your pets can be at. I don't know if you will be able to remain with them or if that's just where they will be until this is all done. But do the best for them and do the best for your family. The constant message from me: call your mother, call your sister, call your brother, email your brother, email your sister, email your mother, call them, leave messages, make sure that they know that you're okay, and you know that they're okay. Thoughts and prayers go out to my sister in California, who fortunately was downstairs because she fell asleep in a chair while an electrical fire broke out upstairs in her bedroom. And her, I think she said one cat and one dog got lost, but made their way home. And everyone is present and accounted for. And I believe my nephew and his wife are well and okay, because they live on the property, but in a separate part of the property, so I'm sure they were okay. And my other sister that lives up there is probably okay because she works such a sporadic schedule that she might not have even been home when it happened. But just be careful. Just be careful. It's tough days, tough weather, and not even worrying about a tough election. But just be careful. Take care of yourselves and each other, as everyone says. Just be careful. Just be careful. Anyway, double V's for victory. This winnable broadcast came to an end. And one more time, it takes a little bit longer to actually close it out on this